Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty. I'm going to be uploading this as a second video to the YouTube. So let's go over his first point from the first accusers. Let's see what their phrasing was. Aside from corrupting the youth. He's speaking of things in the skies and below earth. Control finds stronger. Interesting. Okay, so apparently this PDF is not picking up E's correctly. Student of all things in the sky and below the earth, who makes the worst argument stronger, and is a wise man. Alright, so let's see. We'll go ahead and number these real quick. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so 2 we're going to go ahead and address really quickly. Self-evident, we'll say. Baseless accusation. Because when accusers asked how he was corrupting the youth, they grasped at generic philosophy. Shit. Good enough. 1. Socrates is only wise in that he knows nothing. Others who know things, who think they know things don't know they know nothing, or think they know more than the mortal things they know. And I believe 3 is going to be more philosopher slander for his accusations there. Where did we leave off? Corrupting the young. I think it was around here. He says that I am guilty of corrupting the youth, but I say Meletus is guilty of dealing frivolously with serious matters. Okay, so here's the second one that we're going to want to write down real quick. It goes something like this. Oh, that's not. Second accusers. Socrates corrupts the youth. Does so by making them not believe in the city gods. He does so by making them believe in other beings. Alright. He says that I am guilty of corrupting the young, but I say Meletus is the guilty of dealing frivolously with serious matters, of irresponsibly bringing people into court, and of professing to be seriously concerned with things about none of which he has ever cared, and I shall try to prove that this is so. Come here and tell me, Meletus, surely you consider it of the greatest importance that our young men be as good as possible? Indeed I do. Come then, tell the jury who improves them. You obviously know, in view of your concern. You say you have discovered one who corrupts them, namely me, and you bring me here and accuse me to the jury. Come, inform the jury and tell them who it is. You see, Meletus, that you are silent and know not what to say. Does this not seem shameful to you, and a sufficient proof of what I say, that you have not been concerned with any of this? Tell me, my good sir, who improves our young men? The laws. That is not what I am asking, but what person who has knowledge of the laws to begin with? These jurymen, Socrates. How do you mean, Meletus? Are these able to educate the young and improve them? Certainly. All of them, or some but not others? All of them. Very good, by Hera. You mention a great abundance of benefactors. But what about the audience? Do they improve the young or not? They do too. What about members of the council? The councillors also. But, Meletus, what about the assembly? Do the members of the assembly corrupt the young, or do they all improve them? They improve them. All Athenians, it seems, make the young into fine good men, except me, and I alone corrupt them. Is that what you mean? That is most definitely what I mean. You condemn me to a great misfortune. Tell me, does this also apply to the horses, do you think? That all men improve them and one individual corrupts them? Or quite the contrary true, one individual is able to improve them, or very few, namely the horse breeders, whereas the majority, if they have horses and use them, corrupt them. Is that not the case, Meletus, both with horses and all other animals? Of course it is, whether you and Anytus say it or not. It would be a very happy state of affairs, if only one person corrupted our youth, while the others improved them. You have made it sufficiently obvious, Meletus, that you have never had any concern for our youth. You show your indifference clearly. That you have given no thought to the subject about which you bring me to trial. And by Zeus, Meletus, tell us also whether it is better for a man to live among good or wicked fellow citizens. Answer, my good man, for I am not asking a difficult question. Do not the wicked do some harm to those who are ever closest to them, whereas good people benefit them? Certainly. And does the man exist who would rather be harmed than benefited by his associates? Answer, my good sir, for the law orders you to answer. Is there any man who wants to be harmed? Of course not. Come now, do you accuse me here of corrupting the youth and making them worse deliberately or unwillingly? Deliberately. What follows, Meletus? Are you so much wiser at your age than I am at mine, that you understand that wicked people always do some harm in their closest neighbors, while good people do them good, but I have reached such a pitch of ignorance that I do not realize this, namely that if I make one of my associates wicked, I run the risk of being harmed by him, so that I do such a great evil deliberately, as you say? I do not believe you, Meletus, and I do not think anyone else will. Either I do not corrupt the young, or, if I do, it is unwillingly, and you are lying in either case. Now, if I corrupt them unwillingly, the law does not require you to bring people to the court for such unwilling wrongdoings, but to get a hold of them privately, to instruct them and exhort them. For clearly, if I learn better, I shall cease to do what I am doing unwillingly. You, however, have avoided my company and were unwilling to instruct me, but you bring me here, where the law requires one to bring those who are in need of punishment, not instruction. So, that's another point that we can put down from his accusers. It's the young... Lettuce does not care about the young, so this point means nothing. Lettuce cannot explain what doing good or harm, not harm, or corrupting is other than I corrupt and no one else does. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Alright.
Well, they also say that he's doing it deliberately.
Oh, true. Good point.
Which is, yeah, I feel like that's an important distinction.
Either I am not corrupting or am not doing so willingly. Either way, Meletus is lying. Now, there's a specific argument he actually makes here that we're going to go ahead and try and break down real quick. So let's see. There is no man that wishes to be harmed. He is corrupting the youth. Let's see. Namely, that if I make one of my associates wicked, I run the risk of being harmed by him, so that I do such a great evil deliberately, as you say. On purpose. Corrupting the youth makes them wicked, and they cause harm. Ergo, if Socrates corrupts youth, 2, then youth will be wicked and cause harm, 3, I'll put intentionally here. And they might cause him harm. Ergo, Socrates is willingly leading himself to harm by corrupting the youth. And that is a contradiction to 1. Ergo, Socrates cannot be corrupting the youth on purpose. So what do we think of this argument?
I think it's a weak argument.
Why is that?
I could attack it by Socrates' own tactic that he used previously, analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I could draw an analogy to, say, creating a bow. A bow is a weapon. A weapon causes harm. And yet there is no man who wishes to be harmed. And yet bowyers craft weapons. Weapons craft bows. Bows crafted by a bowyer could be used to cause harm to them. Why would a bowyer ever make a bow? That seems essentially to be the same argument that he's making.
Okay, I get where you're coming from. I believe some sort of argument that could be countered by that is corrupting the youth leads to no other outcome other than them being harmful. That's why people are worried about corrupting the youth, because then they cause harm instead of doing good in their society.
And yet harmful to whom?
Go ahead.
Yes, and yet harmful to whom? Just like a bow only causes harm. The question is who it harms. A bow might be used to harm your enemies. Similarly, corrupted youth might be used to harm your enemies.
Sure. And that would make sense if a bowman from Athens were to make bows and sell them to the Persians when they were at war. But if a bowman is selling these weapons to either the nearby soldiers, the soldiers of the town, or to hunters or neighbors or anything like that, then he does so with the intention of not being harmed. He would not sell these bows to anyone he would think would just go about shooting random people with the bow, including himself.
But does Socrates think this about the youth he corrupts? Or does he think that these youth he corrupts will go and cause harm to those other men in Athens whom he himself has caused harm with his Socratic method? Does he think that they will go and carry out the same practices which he has done, going up to these wise men and and making the argument that they are not in fact wise.
So your argument is that his intent to corrupt them is to go cause harm to others rather than causing harm to him.
Right. That would be the argument I would make if I was Meletus.
I believe the argument that Socrates could possibly level in contrary to that is then he is doing harm, he is corrupting them unwittingly, and they are doing harm unwittingly and need to be re-educated. He did not make them wicked to the point where they are harming for the sake of harming. He gave them the same ideas that he has, since no one instructed him to better ideas, so they're using those same ideas against other people. And, you know, people should be instructing them as well. So this will go back to Socrates is corrupting them unwillingly rather than willingly.
That's a fair point. Okay, nice.
So I believe his idea for wicked would be along the lines of just causing harm to anyone.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool.
So at that point, what you would want to do is attack that definition of wicked, which is something I noticed you didn't immediately try and do. This is one of the interesting things about Socrates, where he says he's not a very good oratician, not a very good orator compared to other people, but then he pretty decently makes an argument here, and along the same lines, I just carried that same argument through the same sort of patterns that I think Socrates would have made. But one could also say that it's kind of a strange definition of wicked, that they are someone that will randomly strike out at anyone. For example, so they might think that Persians attacking them, Persians trying to conquer Greece, are also wicked. But that doesn't mean that the Persians are going to suddenly turn on each other because they are wicked.
Indeed. Yeah. Although doing that seems to also, it's that raising that point seems to be self-defeating for Meletus. If Meletus is saying no, he's not making them, just causing harm to everyone, they're causing harm in some specific way, then it seems like it would be rather easy for Socrates to reply, well, how do you know that that's actually causing harm and not actually improving society? We're having a disagreement between citizens and how our government should be run. That's within the bounds of Athenian public life.
So the rhetorical flair that probably would be the response to that is that something either causes harm or does good, and they're not seeing any good that is coming about from these actions that Socrates is doing to the men that they are doing in turn, therefore it is causing harm.
At which point Socrates would point out that the good that is being caused is that those who people think are wise are being pointed out as not being as wise as they think. When people perceive others to be wise and follow their instruction without question or with less question, they may be led astray. By demonstrating that these so-called wise people are not in fact so wise, Socrates is in fact not corrupting the youth, but defending them by corruption, intentional or unintentional, from others. And I did notice that we have now reversed positions that we're arguing before.
That's one of the interesting things about philosophy, is that it makes you just sort of consider the different perspectives, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, I think we can leave this point here for the moment.
Yeah. That's my pizza. I'll be back.
And so, gentlemen of the jury, what I said is clearly true. Meletus has never been at all concerned with these matters. Nonetheless, tell us, Meletus, how you say that I corrupt the young. Or is it obvious from your deposition that it is by teaching them not to believe in the gods in whom the city believes, but in other new spiritual things? Is this not what you say when I teach and so corrupt them? This is most certainly what I do say. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the second suggestion of corruption. Socrates is corrupting them by getting them to not believe in the city gods. Then by those very gods whom we are talking, Meletus, make this clearer to me and to the jury. I cannot be sure whether you mean that I teach the belief that there are some gods, and therefore I myself believe that there are gods, and am not altogether an atheist, nor am I guilty of that. Not, however, the gods in whom the city believes, but others, and that this is the charge against me, that they are others. Or whether you mean that I do not believe in the gods at all, and that this is what I teach others. This is what I mean, that you do not believe in the gods at all. Socrates does not believe in the gods at all. You are a strange fellow, Meletus. Why do you say this? Do I not believe, as other men do, that the sun and moon are gods? No, by Zeus, juryman, for he says the sun is a stone, and the moon is earth, and moon the earth. My dear Meletus, do you think you are prosecuting Anaxagoras? Are you so contemptuous of the jury and think them so ignorant of letters as not to know that the book of Anaxagoras of Clazomene are full of those theories, and further, that the young men learn from me what they can buy from time to time for a drachma at most in the bookshops, and ridicule Socrates if he pretends that these theories are his own, especially as they are so absurd? Is that, by Zeus, what you think of me, Meletus, that I do not believe that there are any gods? That is what I say, that you do not believe in gods at all. You cannot be believed, Meletus, even I think by yourself. The man appears to me, gentlemen of the jury, highly insolent and uncontrolled. He seems to have made this deposition out of insolence, violence, and youthful zeal. He's he is like one who composed a riddle and is trying it out. Will the wise Socrates realize that I am jesting and contradicting myself, or shall I deceive him and others? I think he contradicts himself in the affidavit. Socrates is guilty of not believing in the gods, but believing in gods. And surely that is the part of a jester. Examine with me, gentlemen, how he appears to contradict himself, and you, Meletus, answer us. Remember, gentlemen, what I asked you when I begin, not to create a disturbance if I proceed in my usual manner. Does any man, Meletus, believe in the human activities who does not believe in humans? Make him answer, and not again and again create a disturbance. Does any man who does not believe in horses believe in the horseman's activities, or of flute-playing activities, but not in flute players? No, my good sir, no man could. If you are not willing to answer, I will tell you and the jury. Answer the next question, however. Does any man believe in spiritual activities who does not believe in spirits? No one. Thank you for answering, if reluctantly, when the jury made you. Now you say that I believe in spiritual things and teach about them, whether new or old, but at any rate spiritual things according to what you say, and to this you have sworn in your deposition. But if I believe in spiritual things, I must quite inevitably believe in spirits. Is that not so? It is indeed. I shall assume that you agree with me, as you do not answer. Do we not believe spirits to be either gods or the children of gods? Yes or no? Of course. Then, since I do believe in spirits, as you admit, if spirits are gods, this is what I mean when I say you speak in riddles and in jest. As you state that I do not believe in gods, and then that I do, since I believe in spirits. If, on the other hand, the spirits are children of gods, bastard children of gods by nymphs or some other mothers, as they are said to be, what man would believe children of gods exist but not gods? That would be absurd as to believe the young of horses and asses, namely mules, exist, but not to believe in the existence of horses and asses. You must have made this deposition, Meletus, either to test us because you were at a loss to find any true wrongdoings of which you accuse me, or because you are at a loss. There is no way in which you could persuade anyone of even small intelligence that it is possible for one and the same man to believe in spiritual but not also divine things, and then again that for the same man to believe neither in spirits nor in gods nor in heroes. I do not think, gentlemen of the jury, that it requires a prolonged defense to prove I am not guilty of the charges in Meletus's deposition, but this is sufficient. On the other hand, you know that what I said earlier is true, that I am very unpopular with many people. This will be my undoing if I am undone. Not Meletus or Anytus, but the slanderers and envy of many people. This has destroyed many other good men, and will, I think, continue to do so. There is no danger that it will stop at me. Someone might say, are you not ashamed, Socrates, to have followed the kind of occupation that has led you to now being in danger of death? However, I should be right to reply to him. You are wrong, sir. Let's go ahead and jot down the theology thing. Instead believes in spirits. Spirits are either gods or children of gods. It makes no sense to believe in horseman activities if you don't believe in horses. It makes no sense to believe in mules if you don't believe in horses or asses. It makes Socrates believes in spirits. Spirits are divine. Socrates believes in the divine. And then we're going to reassert to Socrates does not believe in the divine, which brings us to contradiction. Socrates believes in the divine and does not believe in the divine. You are wrong, sir, if you think that a man who is any good... let me pop that up on screen real quick. I forgot to crack that open, so that's visible now. You are wrong, sir, if you think that a man who is any good at all should take into account the risk of life or death. He should look only in his actions. Whether what he does is right or wrong, whether he is acting like a good or bad man. According to your view, all the heroes who died at Troy were inferior people, especially the son of Thetis. Let's go ahead and check that footnote real quick. Achilles. Especially Achilles, who was so contemptuous of danger compared with disgrace. When he was eager to kill Hector, his goddess mother warned him, as I believe, in some such words as these: "My child, if you avenge the death of your comrade Patroclus, and you kill Hector, you will die yourself, for your death is to follow immediately after Hector's." Hearing this, he despised death and danger, and was much more afraid to live a coward who did not avenge his friends. "Let me die at once," he said, when once I have given the wrongdoer his deserts, rather than remain here a laughingstock by the curved ships, a burden upon earth. Do you think he gave a thought to danger and death? We're actually... I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there, because we're getting close to the hour mark. And it does look like we are moving on to the next point. So we'll go ahead and write down what we're going to be getting to tomorrow real quick. Socrates should not have done the things he did because they could lead to his death. Good men do what is good, not what keeps them alive. If good men only do what keeps them alive, those that fought at Troy were inferior men, especially Achilles. Alright. Do we have any questions about what we went over today so far? Anyone?
Not for me.
Alright.
Honestly.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap Apology up here for today. Let's see real quick where we are in the text. So let's go ahead and start at line 28, page 7. Or paragraph 28, I guess. Alright. And we'll meet back same time tomorrow.
Henry?